Untamed is going to be untamed. It's going to be a little crazy. I want to talk to my people. I want to talk to my brothers and sisters. We can have grace and humility in how we interact with other people.
Oh, hot dog, look at you.
And nobody talked about what's really happening.
And let's have conversations about what truth is.
And Jorgensen's totals being awarded to Trump.
After gaining access to a forensic image of the Dominion election management system in Mesa County, Colorado, IT experts demonstrate how easy it is to switch tens of thousands of votes from Trump to Biden in seconds by simply changing the index number next to each candidate's name.
This is a backdoor utility called SQL Server Management Studio that is actually installed on the image of the voting system.
So is it certified?
It is not on the list of certified software. What I'm going to do first, I'm just going to pull up the presidential results in Mesa County for that election. And here they are. You can see Biden has 31,000, Trump has 56,000. Okay. So I'm going to come up here now, and I'm going to make a quick change. Change that.
You change that to a 2.
Yep. I'm changing Trump to a 1.
Okay.
And then I'm going to come up here and I'm going to rerun the report. And there you go. Biden, 56,000, Trump, 31,000. So I just flipped the results of the election using a tool that's actually built into the voting system. And what I did is not even logged. There's no trace of what I just did now. For some reason, the logging of activities by a user that has the password are not retained.
In Pennsylvania on live TV, Trump had 1,690,589 votes, while Biden had 1,252,537 votes. The time was approximately 11:08 Eastern Standard Time. The next interval report shows Trump's votes decreasing to 1,670,631, and Biden's votes increasing to 1,272,495. The time is approximately 11:09 p.m. Live on CNN, exactly 19,958 votes were switched from Trump to Biden.
What you're actually seeing right now is this created chaos that we have and the fingers that get put on the scales. And no matter how much information we're able to collect and we go through the CASPO records or we look into the improprieties that are committed by other people, we find ourselves looking down the barrel of this gaslighting that exists across the entire country. And in large part, the devil is in, they thought, hey, we have this social media, we have this ability to control the thoughts of weak-minded Americans, and not just Americans, but people around the world, by creating truth that is not truth, but then telling people that you can believe your own truth. And that comes down to also whether or not what kind of society we live in. We think, well, we live in this free society, that it's a capitalistic society. Well, I would tell you right now that what we have within our country right now is largely disconnected from what a capitalistic society would look like. It is a pseudo-socialist. You could even argue that it verges on the edge of being a Marxist society, not by what we want, but how it's truly acting in that capacity. Now, I don't want to get into whether or not you like Andrew Tate or don't like Andrew Tate, but he put up a video, and every time I turn around, there's a new narrative about Joe Oltmann. Joe Oltmann, the podcaster, Joe Oltmann, the podcaster, Joe Oltmann, the podcaster. Let me just tell you, I'm a 2-time Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year nominee. I was a finalist in 2020. I was set to sell my company for an exorbitant amount of money. I gave that up to fight for the American people. I've spent the last 6 years, 900 flights, going around the country, and I was the first one to build the model in December of 2020 that was used largely and still relied on to this day, 6 years later. So I'm not just a podcaster. I'm actually a really smart guy. I'm a system architect, even though most people that talk about being election experts don't even know what system architecture is. So including the Alex Halderman, who on the stand was asked that simple question, do you know what system architecture is? He's like, yeah, we're not familiar with that inside of, in the terms, the vernacular used inside of elections, which is a complete lie. It's the structure of everything that has to do with technology. But we have for a long time seen all this erosion that's happened, and people get to have a narrative of who is the expert, who is not the expert. The radical left creates a narrative, and the right uses it as a beating stick and validation to attack the very people that are competent and able to solve the problems that are right in front of them. I just talked about this in a video that I did previously, but I want you to watch this. This is Andrew Tate talking about, it could be me. This, what he's saying could be me, minus a few of the explicitives that you're going to have to listen to. Go ahead and play it.
Hey, yo, I don't care what y'all think about this man. Listen to what he got to say.
On the planet don't have any comprehension of exactly how evil and how conniving and how intelligent the people who are running this show are. They make you give them half your money that you worked for, and they publicly waste it in front of your face, and you still give it to them. You're calling them dumb? They tell you what speed to drive out on the road. They tell you where you can and can't live. You buy a house and you try and put up a shed. They come in and say, no, zoning laws. I bought this house. Ain't really yours. Property taxes, please. So what happens if I don't pay my taxes? We take it, but I bought it. You. Give me. Everyone's all enslaved to these people. You think they're dumb? And everyone's sitting around at home going, the leaders of the world are stupid. Look at him. He's an idiot. He runs your life. And these people have not only tried to convince me to kill myself, they've spoke to me. They've sat me down and said, look, there's limits. They also spoke to Trump. They tried to put a bullet in his head. He's now the president of the United States. Why is there no investigation into why CNN played Butler, Pennsylvania, his only ever rally they played live on CNN? Why? The one where they try and blow his brains out on camera. Why is Fauci not in jail? Why is Hillary not in jail? Why is Obama not in jail? No one's going to jail for anything. Mr. Trump, you can do your tariffs and you can kick out a few migrants, but there's limits to what you can and can't do. If you want your children to live and you want to keep your towers.
So tell me I'm wrong. Tell me what we're seeing wrong. By the way, our guest today is fire. Like everything he talks about is fire. General Blaine Holt is probably one of my favorite people. I'm going to go through a couple more cuts real quick so you can understand just how deep this goes. But what did he say that is untrue? We give up half of our money. We do so plainly because we have a fear that if we don't do that, we're somehow along the way going to become an enemy to the country. And yet the country has become an enemy to the people. It's hardly recognizable. It's in a place right now where we have controlled warfare in every aspect. President Trump does what he can to put his fingers on different scales in order to create some sort of qualified and or predictable outcome. But he's got two masters. One, he's got the American people over here, and then he has the people that frankly have been doing this for a very long time. And he talked about what happened in Pennsylvania. CNN knew what was going to happen that day, had they know. Is it coincidence? Is everything a coincidence? Is everything just a big coincidence? As I say, nothing to see here. You don't have proof. We have plenty of proof. And here's more of this kind of slave culture, and I'm going to bring it down to as close to Colorado as I possibly can. This is a rolling out of this thing called the AVIS system. You're not going to believe this. Go ahead and play it.
You're now going to get a speeding ticket without ever being pulled over. AVIS. No, I'm not talking about the car rental company. I am talking about the automated vehicle identification system. These are like those flock cameras you see at the traffic lights. Well, what they are now going to be doing is they're going to be issuing you speed tickets. Yes, even though you're at a stoplight, you're going to get a speeding ticket. Because what they're going to be doing is absolutely insane. It is now ran by an AI algorithm that says, well, if this car was at point A, and then at this time, and then at this time it was at point B, the only way it could have got there in this amount of time is if they were speeding. It will calculate exactly how fast you were going over the speed limit and issue you automatically a speeding ticket without you being able to even challenge it. That's the future of the United States now.
That's the future of the United States right now. they can write you a ticket. So you have, traffic cameras, and you got speed cameras, and you have drones that are in the sky that can control everything that you do. And they say it's for your own good, for your own good, for your own good, for your own good. We're taking away your Second Amendment rights for your own good. We're stopping you from having free speech for your own good, because you might offend this person, you might offend that person. This person who wants to cut off their penis because they've been indoctrinated in the school finally comes forward and says, oh, you know what? You can't say anything bad to them because they might commit suicide, and not actually addressing the problem, which is you shouldn't have been grooming that child in second grade and showing them porn books and telling them, hey, you can pick your gender. We shouldn't have been doing any of these things. And yet, if you actually tie it all together, it's a system of control. And look, I'm all about making sure that we have a functioning society. But as the radical left has done more and more to a community, what's been the outcome? And let me just talk to you about the rotted judiciary, because, by the way, you don't have any choice. You either pay the bill or they will come get you. And they get to decide who the winners and losers are, because they are the law, right? And we talk about the judiciary and the judges and just how rotted it is. And it wasn't very difficult to see it of President Trump. Every time he got in front of a judge, they were doing something else illegal and violating process and doing everything they can to procedurally make sure they take everything from him. You think that was a mistake? No, it wasn't a mistake. It was purposely done because the judiciary is so rotted to the core, and there is no other indication of that than the tale of two cases, two men who pleaded guilty for raping a 15-year-old boy. Two men and two completely different sentences. Go ahead and play it.
The court found these two men guilty of the same charges after a plea deal. Investigators said they would go alone on several different occasions to a home in West Omaha, crawl through a basement window to have sex with a 15-year-old boy, and manufacture child pornography. Last summer, when it came time for sentencing Eric Bergstrom for first-degree sexual assault, Judge Derek Vaughn ordered him to serve 30 to 50 years in prison. For visual depiction of sexually explicit conduct, 20 to 35 years in prison. With Nebraska's good time law, he'll spend 25 years in custody. Earlier this month, co-defendant Bradley Perry faced a different judge for the same exact charges. This time, Douglas County District Court Judge Rich McGowan gets the case because the other judge had been promoted to the Nebraska Supreme Court. Judge McGowan's sentence for Bradley Perry for first-degree sexual assault? Probation. The sentence for child pornography? 3 years. In court, the state argued that Judge McGowan should consider a similar sentence to what the co-defendant received by the other judge. According to court transcripts, Judge Rich McGowan replied, "Judge Vaughn is not here or available to make decisions on Mr. Perry's sentencing. I am the law. The governor has entrusted me to make this decision." On Friday, I emailed Judge McGowan what he meant by "I am the law" and how he can render a sentence that is lower than the state statute minimum sentence for first-degree sexual assault of 1 year. He hasn't replied to my message.
Two men did the same thing, crawled through the same door, same circumstances completely. Two different sentences. One serving exactly what he should. The other let out on probation. Probation. A complete violation of the trust of the system. And he says, I am the law. What is it telling us when child rapists are let free, set free? Same case, identical case. They're involved in the same case. One gets 50 years, the other, probation. They pick winners and losers because the system is not designed to favor the people. It's designed to favor the deviants and the people that they see as fit for our society. But so often it's the good people that end up getting the long sentences, like Tina Peters. And I want to say this if I can, and then I'm going to get straight to having Brigadier General Blaine Holt on, because I got a lot of questions for him. But every time we win on our side, we have a win for the people. And it's not a win for Republicans or for conservatives. It's a win for common decency. The radical left cries foul. And yet, when we cry foul on the basic idea that they can violate a 15-year-old and get probation multiple times, I mean, I personally think that he should be sentenced to death. He should get the death penalty. We get sidelined and told, oh, you're just not compassionate enough. Well, here's a Democrat dissatisfied with the Supreme Court ruling, and this is a warning, a shot across the bow. on what they plan on doing if they ever retain power again.
And so the guy's falling apart. The MAGA majorities in Congress are falling apart. The Supreme Court is a disgrace. And Ben, in the new Congress, we're going to have to do something about this Supreme Court. And let me be very clear. Everything is on the table. Everything to deal with this corrupt MAGA majority that is issuing political opinions that are designed to bolster the prospects of the Republican Party. And we will not allow them to succeed.
Heard my. I'll let you judge by that, but General, welcome to the show.
You know, it's Joe, we're really at astonishing times. And I think back to the civil breakdown around 1859, just after the Buchanan presidency is winding up. And I can't help but start to hear the echoes of a nation heading towards the rocks, and that we're going to have to see something so dramatic in this nation in the next couple of months, or we're going to have to make different types of plans.
You know, you haven't shied away from the idea that we're in a red hot environment right now, and I don't think that you're wrong in your assessment. But as we start looking at that assessment, what's the danger? Like, what should the American people be pushing towards, or what should they be planning for, or how can they get involved? Because so often we forget about the fact that by sitting on the sidelines, we start contributing to this negligence of our society. So what would you tell the people that they have to do right now?
Sure. And I'll cover that before we get into what I would call are the modern day Bolsheviks and the nature of this enemy and what they really are, wearing the cloaks and garbs of something called the Democratic Party, which they're anything but that. But what can an American do right now at the local level in their county? The first thing you need to do is assess your risk situation and your risk posture. Are you in a lawless county? Are you in a place where you're liable to see lawfare used much the way that you're portraying it in its most egregious level, to really inflict terror and fear on the public, which is, we can follow that autopsy as well. But so then once you've assessed your risk posture, then assess your neighborhood, your neighbors, your direct neighbors and family. Who's around you? Who's around you that you can count on if things go forward, if we don't have power, if we don't have food, if the supply chains break down, if the law enforcement actually becomes something that you're nervous about backing you up as an American law-abiding citizen. So make that assessment and then have meetings with your neighbors. And while you're doing that, help your neighbors and your community by putting away some supplies. Yes, I'm not going to tell you to be a full a prepper, but you should have the ability to not be in a completely zeroed out situation should something really astonishing happen in our nation. And I pray and I hope and I pray every day that that's not going to be our outcome. And I do see pathways to us getting to a very good place, some turbulence in front of us for sure. But I do see a pathway that where we might, we put away the beanie weenies and all the rice and a few rare metals like lead, and we didn't need them. I can see that. But there is enough.
You got to always have lead.
You got to
always have lead.
Lead and tungsten are absolutely essentials. But what I would say is that while you're taking care of those things, when you do those types of activities, you're dropping your anxiety and you're helping your psychology level. And by all means, you need a strong relationship with your creator. You have to have that. Okay, so there's that part. But then where we go from there is battening down the hatches and seeing how this colossal fight is going to play out. Because, what you described in your monologue, Joe, is really just a cocktail. You laid out all the ingredients, and they're not in the glass yet, and you haven't put the ice in it, but that's a cocktail called civil war. Because what happens when a people have no redress with their government, the Fourth Amendment doesn't matter because Flock and Palantir have that covered. Next year, we'll start turning off your car if you freak out for any reason because you nearly hit a squirrel. And then we're going to get into the pieces and parts where Gavin Newsom wants to choke off the gas supply to the entire United States of America and choke down the #1 importing food port to the nation. You've got terror cells in the nation that could inflict great damage to our very, very, very fragile grid. And then you've got these tech hooligans who not only they disrespect all of your God-given, not government-given rights, they're very interested in locking you down and throwing you into the CBDC bucket. So all of those things stack up to be the ingredients in a very lethal cocktail. And that does not have to be our outcome. And I don't think it's the outcome that President Trump is pursuing. In fact, I see quite the opposite. I see great signs for encouragement, but in that world that I'm about to talk to you about, the president absolutely has to act and pull the trigger.
Yeah, so I actually think that there's some things that are about to break through, and there's been a couple of cases that have already broken through with President Trump pushing out Pam Bondi and having Todd Blanche step up. I always thought Todd was a problem. Now I see cases that are actually getting across the finish line and wondering to myself, maybe it was just Pam Bondi that was the problem. And I can't tell because obviously Washington's filled to the brim with people who say they have good intentions that are frankly just throwing out boat anchor after boat anchor, trying to sink the ship off the rear. But as you talk about this recipe for civil war and the things that we're doing right now, and President Trump pushing towards accountability, and those are all great recipes for anything other than disaster, where we could put away our lead and tungsten and get to a more balanced society. But it's not. None of these things that are happening at the top, like Comey and other people's getting arrested, are silencing the pain that's happening to the people on both sides of the aisle. They both feel betrayed, right?
Sure.
And so the American people largely feel enslaved. And yet they're still talking about raising taxes and creating even more of a thumb on the people. And then you have the judiciary that's rotted to the core in every aspect. You talk about civil war, but this would be a kind of a different civil war because there's a unified target, but the unified target of who they see as the problem are completely diabolically opposed, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so are we just going to start, or is it going to be a civil war towards all leadership? Are we going to attack each other? I mean, what does this look like? Because frankly, I don't think I've seen a kinetic environment like this. Usually you have a target, and the target is so broad, it's almost all of us.
Yeah. Well, welcome to fifth generation warfare. And this is the most complicated warfare that there is. Many of our law-abiding citizens at home who work, they do their daily jobs, they scroll through a few doom scrolls, they put aside the news after they're done, and they play by the rules. They don't know what the hell fifth generation warfare is. So look, just for context, it's not necessarily bombs, tanks, and guns. This enemy is on this side, this enemy is on that side, and to the death we go. It's much more dangerous than that. And what it is an undefined battle space where every single thing, time, manner, place, is a weapon. So social media, bots, influence operations, information warfare, psychological operations, graft, corruption, extortion, blackmail, manipulation of markets, theft, deep fakes, lawfare, corruption, all of those things are fair play in a fifth generation warfare, unrestricted warfare environment. Something as simple as a cyber attack, which you know very, very well about, where I go into a metropolis and I turn every traffic light green. I just do that, and I start to wreak havoc. So
I haven't done that, but I can tell you I know how to do it.
I'm certain that you do. I was talking here in DC with a technologist who's a real spooky guy, and we actually red teamed out a lot of things that you never want me to tell any of your listeners. You just don't. It's PhD stuff, and quite frankly, it's very scary. But where I'm going with this is that you also have a geographical dispersion problem, because the way that this whole thing has been set up by the ultimate enemy And you've heard me say it many times. I wrote about it in my op-ed. The ultimate enemy is sitting in the remnants of what is the current incarnation of the British Empire, or lovingly known as the City of London, the globalists. You call them whatever you want, doesn't matter. But they want what they say they want. They want less of you. They cannot depopulate, enslave people to the green altar of climate change, and take away food and make you eat bugs with a free people called the United States of America in their way. They can't do it. It's not possible. So we're the biggest target on the planet right now. What have they done? They have used our own deep state elements inside our intelligence community, our own corrupt systems here in Washington, D.C., where I'm unfortunately behind enemy lines today. And what they've done is they've made a corporation of sorts. They have made a complete machine over decades that uses intel agencies feeding money into non-governmental organizations, doing horrible things to use media to pit people against each other, erode American values, essentially co-opt the United States of America education system. And that's the only way that you are going to have ideological bent, indoctrinated youth who thinks that purple hair and a brand new gender is the way ahead in life. And what they've created is they've emaciated our kids and they've created zombies. And what they've more importantly done is they've created the bedrock for an army of Bolsheviks, like we saw in the Russian Revolution, who are essentially also dubbed anarchists. That would be your BLM Antifa types. And then anarchists who, hey, I'll work for free. I just want to go blow shit up. And then you get to mid-level management where the Soroses of the world are popping all the money into these things because these are paid events. You go to a No Kings protest in Seattle, the signage is gonna look the exact same as it would in Miami at a No Kings protest because it's all professionally done. But they try to make it look organic in the sense that they've intermingled these groups and peoples across every single congressional district in the nation. And so what they're trying to give the illusion of is that, this is just now the regular distribution of Americans. Now you've got these leftists, and most of them are on the extreme left, and you've got these rights, and there's no such thing as saying somebody is right wing. It's always with the prefix ultra right wing, hard right wing, Nazi right wing. And they're doing it intentionally. My friend Alex Kreiner, who's got a great podcast on Substack, he's in Naked Hedgie. He says it perfectly. He's a hedge fund guy out of Monaco. And he says, Blaine, they're intentionally putting black ants in the jar and red ants in the jar that they've conditioned. They close the jar, they shake the jar, and now everybody's fighting everybody. So in the next civil war, and God, I hope we don't ever have one, this is the battle space that happens in. So now if I take away the food, because I killed your food supply chains, and I take away your gas, and I start rationing those things, then the darkest elements of all these societies become marauders, and they just go start killing people and taking things. And you've already co-opted all these judges who are then going to let them go in and be booked and then let them go right back out onto the battlefield again. So you would sit there and look at that horrific Mad Max environment, kill or be killed. And that's why I was saying right out of the gate, what do I do if I have to live in that world? Well, I've told you. But now let's start to examine how this can go in a different way. The first thing is you got to identify the damn enemy. You want to call them Democrats? That's cool with me. I say in DC, there is no aisle. There's no aisle whatsoever. And Democrats? No, I know what a Democrat looks like. They're liberals. They'll fight for spending more government money. But they're not out to destroy the United States of America, all of its institutions. And, every 5 hot seconds, they want to impeach something. That's not the Democratic Party. Okay, so we have to identify them for what they are. They are City of London Marxists that have been utilized here for the ultimate battle, which is to take down the United States to get to their globalist one world government. I'll depopulate you and make you eat crickets aims.
So that's a lot to bite off on, because we're trying to figure out, and frankly, I can follow what you're saying, but
yeah,
I need to slow it down a little bit for the audience. Not that the audience doesn't have intelligence, but they don't have as much insight, nor do they have as much experience in dealing with these apparatuses as we do. And when you talk about the red and the black ants, we put them together and we shake it up. By the way, that's an experiment that was done, and it shows that they attack each other. They can live side by side until you agitate them, and when you agitate them, they basically explode into. And that we're no different. We're no different than ants. Frankly,
That's right.
we're not. Right?
No, we're not.
And that's proven by the fact that we're shaken up every day in life. Get on the internet, we just attack the first person that says something we don't like.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Dox them into oblivion.
But that leads people to have an innate fear, so that you don't have good people that show up for government. You don't have good people that show up to lead, because frankly they don't want to be under the scrutiny, because it's a lot. The pressure of it is just a lot, and so the only thing that survives is shrieking weakness, right?
Right.
And it leaves people that are really smart and good at what they do and intelligent. Either really quiet and trying to get things done behind the scenes because they can do so patiently. They have the patience of a saint.
Yeah.
Or they get bounced pretty quickly.
Right.
4 years into a term, 5 years into a term, where they're like, okay, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore.
No. And even if you're just an average American who is active on social media expressing your views, if you hit certain levels in followers, clicks, or whatever, you're going to find yourself getting a lot of attention, meaning they're building algorithms in to do just that and to take care of it. And that's also a 5th generation line of effort. So, what we have to do is we have to start looking at, okay, well, we're all, think of it this way. We're all in an airplane, the United States of America. We all booked this flight. And we decided that the pilot of the airplane was going to be President Trump.
Yeah.
And he's the captain of the ship, and he's the pilot on board. So the wheels are in the well. And we've made our bets on President Trump. And I know that a lot of the MAGA faithful, the America First faithful, well, they're not read into what his plan is. But when you look at outward signs of the plan, some people wanted, let's hang them all in the first 90 days. Let's fire all these people. Let's round them all up type thing. Or what the hell are you getting us into foreign wars for? You're on the airplane. It is flying. Going and killing the pilot at this point is a really dumb idea. As a pilot, I can tell you that.
It's a really bad idea.
Yeah. So what I'm likening it to is, if you're sitting there up in first class and you've got some thoughtful advice that the pilot might need, go ahead and pass it up by a nice little note on a bev nap to the stewardess, and have her take it up and see if the captain is impressed by that. But understand that as the pilot in command of this United States of America airplane, he's entrusted with the responsibility to get this damn airplane back on the ground. And what we don't get to know, and what he doesn't share with us, I certainly never shared it with all of my passengers when I was flying the C-17 around the world, is what my plan to land that airplane is going to be. And having met President Trump, the most critical parts of his plan, he has told me to my face, only he knows. And so I can, just as an intelligent person, I can get concerned about certain things I see, certain people on his team doing things that I see, certain elements of justice being bypassed. I can get concerned about those things, but we're, this is it. We're on the jet, and the jet's going to start down out of altitude soon. And so take care of yourselves, take care of your families. Try to safeguard yourselves in ways that I mentioned all you can. But I'd be very, I would be very watchful and mindful before you decide that President Trump is taking us to a bad place. Do remember that the pilot also bought a ticket on this flight, and he's on board with us. And so what we have to do is, this metaphor that I'm using is, we have to get to a place where we unapologetically take care of the accountability while we reestablish traditional American values and give the people their freedom back, and knock the hell out of the people stealing all our damn money every day for no apparent reason, for their apparent reasons. So that's what the plan looks like. And then, I'll pause here, but there's elements that I see that indicate to me the president actually may have a pretty a pretty great tack on this. He may have a great plan.
Yeah, look, I've learned not to bet against him. I point out things because I'll get like 500 phone calls or emails or texts or people saying President Trump doesn't know what he's doing. He's not MAGA. He's not doing it. I'm thinking to myself, just chill out. Just chill out. But I have to question it because otherwise I'm not letting people know that I can see it. But at the other side of it is, look, President Trump has an enormous amount to lose. And as I sit in this case, we were talking about this Coomer case before you came on, and I told you about my frustration with the fact that they've basically stripped me of an attorney, violated everything, and yet I still feel pretty calm about it, even though I know procedurally they're going to try and beat me to death with it because they can't win on the facts because they know that they're liars. But I still have to trust the process, trust the process. And even though the judiciary is rotted to the core, everyone can see it. The emperor has no clothes, right? And so I feel. By the way, this just in. Breaking news right now. Breaking news. Stephanie Lambert won her case just now. The case was dismissed. All the charges were dropped in the case where she was charged by Dana Nessel out of Michigan for election tampering. She didn't do it. They dropped the charges. That just comes across the wire right now. 100%, her case was dismissed. Stephanie Lambert out of Michigan. She's going to come on tomorrow, it sounds like. But one of the biggest fighters in the election fraud community has just had her case in Michigan dismissed. Felony case against her dismissed. Wow.
That's great news.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Again, we get these wins. They keep stacking up. Sorry, I had to read that because it came over. She just sent me, I won my case. Charges dismissed. And I'm like, yes.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned Brennan and Comey and Clapper being in some form of the justice system. And it doesn't even feel like an appetizer,
Yeah. No, it doesn't.
But here's the thing. This is actually encouraging to me. All three of those guys are getting taken to task on absolute bullshit charges. Meaning they're very, very low level procedural crimes, or I think you're going to have a really hard time in court proving that Comey was 86-47, as crass as it is that he had intent. As much as that could inspire little soy boys to go do evil things, but that's not here nor there. But if you sit back at the 50,000-foot altitude, if we were on the eve of holding a whole lot of people accountable all at one time, wouldn't it be good to take flight risks like those guys and get them into the process? Yeah, get them into the process. So even though that judge told Comey you don't have travel restrictions, he starts making his way to an international airport. I guarantee you he's going to have a shadow. So in other words, those things will be significant tells. So I think about it like a hurricane. That you're sitting on the beach and it's those first few clouds, the storm bands start coming up over the beach. And you're like, aha, something's coming. And I do think something's coming. And I think, like I've said before mid-July, I think we're going to see something astonishing. And if we don't, we'll probably start to make other plans because that's what patriots do. President Trump deserves our respect for all he's gone through and done to get to this place. But if our leader falls on this battlefield, it doesn't mean our mission's over by any stretch of the imagination. This is about the Constitution of the United States of America. And we're not going to lose. And we're going to be very intolerant of those who think that they can take all that away from us. It's our birthright.
Yeah, so that leads me to I want to address some of the things that people are saying in the comments. President Trump has to fulfill his obligation to the people. He doesn't. You don't get a seat at the table when he's doing it because he has no idea who's listening.
Right.
And when you're playing fifth generation warfare, right? Mm-hmm. You can't afford to slip up. This is like going into Venezuela and snatching out Maduro, right? Nobody could know. Right. And the second that someone did know, and i.e. what was happening in Iran, they blabbed their mouth and caused almost an international incident that cost the lives of several of our soldiers, right? So President Trump is smart enough to know that he knows the devil he knows is better than the devil he doesn't know. He's going to keep walking down that path. But
Yeah.
he has also warned us, though. General, he's warned us about just how bad and how corrupt people in our own party are, right? And
Oh, absolutely.
and that
There's no aisle.
they're colluding, and it is
They
this
are.
uniparty. So, which then pisses me off because then I'm like, okay, well, then how do we fix that?
Well, so this gets back to the thing. And here's again, I want to go through some optimistic stuff here with you. If yes, it's a uniparty. They just want to put DC back together again post Trump and work for the city of London and kill the American people. That's the formula. Okay, that's what we demand. John Thune is not going to allow for the SAVE Act. He's paid not to do that. So, at any rate, so the president did something super interesting. He called for the GOP in September to not have a Trump rally in advance of the midterms. He asked for a convention. He asked for the party to have a convention. Well, hold up. We only do conventions around presidential election time because we don't know who the candidate's truly going to be until the convention is done. But we already know who's won the primaries in the congressional elections, or we will soon. And therefore, that would obviate the need for any kind of convention where you would call delegates of the states, unless there was a massive accountability season where the government was determined to be incapacitated. Everything went over to the military side. Tribunals did occur. And you hardly had anybody left to put into a Congress situation. And you would have to bring together some sort of convention to select who the representatives are going to be. Now, I don't know that that's what's going to happen, but I don't know any
Sounds
other
fun.
reason. Yeah, I
It
just
sounds
don't know.
super fun. Like,
I would
I'm in.
come. Yeah, I'm in. I would come, but I don't know any other reason you would have such a thing where you would need state legislator delegates to come select things. We're not calling for an Article 5 convention of states or anything like that. So that's another indicator to me that there is something planned in the works to come soon. You know, they built out Gitmo and they did all those things. But, we're at the end of our wick. Ever since the stolen 2020 election, we've been at the end of our wick, and it's been very, very hard on Americans. And so once this Iranian war, and by the way, I wrote it in my op-ed. This is a battle that includes the city of London, and that is the big world war. Okay, this is going to wrap up very nicely, and President Trump's going to do well here for all of us. But but that's going to get done. And then if we see the accountability that needs to come, not in dribs and drabs, but in mass, you watch the fragmented MAGA nation and America First Nation and Americans writ large, they are going to come whipping back. And I think that President Trump has made a calculated gamble that he knew that the base by this point in time would be in absolute tatters. I think he knew that. He's a very smart man. So you can't be smart in some things and then really, really dumb on others. I saw how many really true, good patriot Christian conservatives were raising hell on Easter because he said, praise be to Allah, and he said some bad words about the imams. Well, this is the thing. When he's doing communications like that, he's not communicating to you, the American people. He's communicating what I believe was the green light for the Iranians to start their revolution. Because he doesn't have any other way to talk to them. But we do have ground assets over there that could say, hey, when you see this on social, that you need to know this is how many days out you are. That's just speculation on my part. But what you have to do right now in a fifth generation battlefield is if the president says something that looks so patently obvious, not in his best interest, take a step back, breathe, and then go back in and look, what is the purpose of this thing? If it's not the obvious, which is President Trump's just being a doofus on social media, then what is the purpose of this thing? And then start to look around you at what we're going through as a nation, what we're working on. A lot of people don't even know what the hell happened in the war in Iran last week. It wasn't military. It was Scott Bessent leading the way. Scott Bessent, what did he do? He basically fried the Lloyd's of London monopoly that was City of London jewel. Oh, that dries up a lot of their money and the bad guys. He took down through sanctions 7 banks in that network that were caught money laundering from Dubai to Hong Kong to London and Switzerland. And so he's mopping up all the money. He is taking away their money. Here's the other thing they're doing. A lot of people are getting really worried about gas. I don't like paying gas. I got a diesel. Man, I'll tell you what, in Idaho, that hurts right now. But if you look, if it looks like, well, we could get into a really big war here, wouldn't it make a lot of sense that if the current price of a physical barrel of oil is around $120 a barrel, that the futures markets with the uncertainty would indicate that oil is streaking off the Richter scale like 200, 250, somewhere in there? No, through very careful management, Scott Bessent and the president together, working comms and working Forex or foreign exchange, have very much stabilized the futures markets. That means once this war gets behind us, we're going to return rather quickly to where we need to be. So what they're doing is not without risk, and what they're doing has potentials for failure. And there are no probabilities. I mean, there's no certainties, only probabilities. But the thing is you're on the airplane, kids, and they are flying it. Trump in the left seat and Bessent in the right seat. And look, they're putting together a very risk-laden but brilliant plan. And if you think you're going to take down a cabal that's essentially controlled this world since the fall of Rome without bold and audacious action, you're just kidding yourself.
Yeah, no, it is. I'm literally answering some questions, General, and I got to tell you, everyone is like, I love General Holt. I love it.
Well, thank you very much, everybody.
He makes
I'm
me feel so much better. And then you get the one that says hopium, and I'm like, that's not hopium. That's fact. We can see it happening, right? But we think about things in very one-dimensional, two-dimensional worlds, and we don't understand how complicated it is to get things accomplished.
This is a really important point, especially for whoever wrote the word hopium down. And I, in a very sarcastic way, use that word all the damn time. But what I would say is we can all succumb to fear right now. There's many reasons to do that. We see layoffs of our friends every day, ourselves. We see the grocery store prices. We see your government is against you, basically local, state, and federal. It's not just the feds. And you can get very fearful. And then you can tune in. Actually, you can set yourself up with a menu of YouTube for the night that'll have you terrified, and you won't get an ounce of sleep. And so now let me employ a little bit of quantum physics or Solfeggio or Rife frequencies. It is not bullshit, and it is also not anti-Christian to talk about having a higher level of frequency or keeping your energy up and staying positive about things. That is not hopium. That is absolutely real. There is a ton of science behind this. And for those of you who are absolutely faithful believers, go check out Joe Siebel's book, which is called The Physics of God. But if all you do is set yourself up in a world of confirmation on things are bad, things could get worse, this is how bad it could get. And that's why I don't think we spent all the time on this podcast about the bad place, the Civil War place. If you spend all your time there, you're driving yourself into much, much lower states of energy, much, much lower frequencies. Well, guess what? Some of your movies, like the Civil War movie A24 and that kind of crap, they put in 19 hertz DLF frequencies for a reason. It's to get you agitated. So what you have to do, and what's so important, is once you've looked at the threat and you're like, man, this is really bad, this is real, you've got to get over to the other side and you got to go, okay, so how does it get good? How does it get good? Because let me tell you something about military operations and being a general. You don't go out onto the battle space to look at what's the least worst way that I could lose.
I just want to laugh. Like you have that nervous laugh, but you're like really happy. And I don't want to laugh on here, but I'm laughing because I feel really good, and that's not hopium. It's not like I'm taking anything for hopium.
Right.
It's that I'm going to just use those two words that maybe you and I have never talked about this innate faith that I have, but God, like the two
Right.
words, but God, but God,
Yeah.
like, but God, President Trump was elected, but God, a lot of things were revealed to us, but God, we've been able to, crack the nut. And yeah, it's not all the way cracked because they're holding on, they're squealing and holding on. This evil is trying to hold on for dear life. But God, a lot of things are happening.
Yeah, it is. These are amazing times to be alive, as hard as things are.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: if you go to what we call the greatest generation, post World War II, and we revered and appropriately so. My dad was a World War II vet. We revered these people as, oh my gosh, you went into fire and look what you did. You saved the world. Well, in a fifth generation warfare environment, we can't predict what history is going how the history is going to remember this or what the outcomes are going to be. But what we could say is you want yourself at the other side of this thing to be in a place where you can look at your grandkids and go, I'll tell you what, it was a crazy time in the United States, but this happened. We pulled together and we got through this. And after 250 years of age, America preserved her freedom, and it wasn't easy. And I want our generation to be remembered as a we stood the line generation. And and again, that these are things that you can think about that can really get your positivity up. That you can sit there and go, okay, so listen, my local community, I can't do a damn thing about what's going on in DC, and I can't. I'm in economy. I can't even scream up to the cockpit to have Trump hear me. But what can I do here locally? What can I do in can I go get my church involved in a food bank? Man, it'd be a really great idea to do that right now, especially with the winter coming next year and food supply chains breaking down. What if all the churches in your county were overflowing with food and then people started growing stuff? Well, what that does is it creates resilience, it creates positivity, it drops anxiety because because this is going to happen anyway.
With or
And
without you. You can worry about it all
yeah,
you want, but life is going to happen and you just got to work the problem.
I had a brand new co-pilot. He was fresh out of C-17 training, and it was his first trip across the Atlantic. And I think we had some smoke in the cockpit and some electrical thing go cattywampers, and masks are being worn and that kind of stuff. And he's getting a little agitated over there because it's the first time. It's 3 o'clock in the morning over the Atlantic, and I looked at him and I said, "Are you all right?" He goes, "Oh, yes, sir." And I said, "You know what?" And he goes, "What?" And I said, "We have the rest of our lives to figure this out."
So how did he respond to that? How did he respond to that?
He just looked at me with big wide eyes. He goes, "Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I understand. Everything's fine."
It's either fine or it's not fine.
Right.
Right? I mean, you don't have a lot of, it's not a.
This is happening. This is absolutely happening. So we get to choose what our attitude is. Nobody can take that away from you. You get to choose what your attitude is, and you get to choose what is your role going to be in it. You may have chosen your role is going to be zero. I am going to stick my head in the sand, and this is all going to be fine. And let me go down the street and get my booster shot. No problem. But you get to choose what your role is, what your attitude is towards that role. Just remember, if you have kids and a family, you're going to want to play a leadership position. You're going to want to help them understand what this is, and that hey, things can get a little crazy, but we're going to stick together. We're going to take care of one another. Sometimes I can't have you stay out late at night because things have gotten a little unsafe here in Chicago. Whatever it is, whatever your setting is, but if and this is another good lesson from the cockpit. Man, I'm really on the flying thing tonight. A good lesson from the cockpit is when you're teaching an aircraft commander. There's a little bit of Hollywood that goes into this. You're going to have emergencies. And when that happens, you're the most experienced person on the crew, and you've got to lead them to a successful outcome. So if you see the fire light with the hydraulic light come on at the same time, if you're and you're very nervous about it as the aircraft commander, you got a couple of decisions. You can sit there and freak out and go, "Oh my God, this is awful. This is horrible. I think we're going to be in a lot of trouble." Or and then what happens is the entire crew, your family, will match that, and they'll go, "Oh my God, dad or mom are they're upset. They're pinging off the walls. They're crazy. I should be crazy." Or you can take a look at it, take a breath, check the clock just to see what the time is, and then get back into the moment and say, "Oh man, Another night to prove what a good pilot I am. Okay. Well, let's get that old checklist out. I'll have a sip of my coffee. And then the attitude of the crew or your family is, oh, you know what? The old man's got this.
Yeah.
We're good. We're fine. Whatever I can do to help, I'm going to help. But if you're not excited about this, well, then I'm not excited about this.
Yeah. So my fun fact, my wife and I met because she was my flight instructor 24
cool.
years ago.
Yeah.
So she's a commercial pilot, went to Embry-Riddle. I stole her from her career in aviation. But I remember I was out in a storm. I shouldn't have been out, and I was doing solos, touch and goes. And I always have to push the limit.
Yeah, gotcha.
And we had crosswinds of, they were bursting or gusting to like 38, 40, right?
Sure.
And you're supposed to land. And so I would get a wind check before I went to land, and it would say 21. And I was like, oh, I'm underneath 25. I can do this. So I'd touch down and full throttle and pull up and go right, do a round, stay in the pattern.
Yeah.
And so my wife had to call the tower and say, can you tell him to land now?
Yeah. Yeah. And he's getting a talking to.
And like, Romeo 269er, can you land? We just got a thing that you have to land. So I land.
Yeah.
Boy, I'd never gotten an ass chewing like that before. That's before we were married. And I was like, I got to marry this woman.
Nice job. Well done. Good instructor too, by the way.
Yeah. Really good instructor. But I wanted to see, the reason why I always pushed it is I was like, I can afford the helicopter, or excuse me, the airplane if I crash it.
Right.
More importantly, I wanted to see how good I could become under pressure. And so I purposely chose the thunderstorm to go out there. And it's kind of like being under the hood for your IFR, right? Same thing.
Right.
Anyway.
Well, there's old bold pilots. I'm not going to fly in a thunderstorm. I'm going to use my weather radar. And then we didn't have those in T-38. So it was like, well,
I didn't say I was smart. I'm just alive. When you're in a Cessna 172, there's only certain, you could hurt yourself, but
yeah,
I have my limits.
You got to get your IFR ticket if you're going to get a private pilot's license. You got to get it.
Absolutely. 100%. I agree with that. So I need to ask you a bunch of questions. Can I have you for a little bit more time? Because
absolutely.
You talk a lot about the GOP, and I'm trying to work this problem. I'm hoping you can help with it. So I had my name in the hat to run for Colorado governor. First of all, I would have won. I know I would have won because I could talk to both sides of the aisle. But I felt like that the Colorado Republican Party was so broken, fundamentally broken, that someone had to come fix that first. Right. And so I stepped out of the governor's race and said, okay, I'm gonna run as a state chair. And as soon as I did that, I became like, I have a friend that works on the Capitol for Polis, and they can't stop talking about me. It's like they have Oltmann derangement syndrome.
Right.
And all the attacks came out. I'm now anti-Semitic. I'm anti-gay. You name it, they attacked me. The Anti-Defamation League wrote a letter to the GOP saying you cannot have this anti-Semite, self-loathing anti-Semite, mind you, run the party. And so I go and I research all these people, and the ADL is all radical leftists, all of them. So we have all these radical leftists that are attacking me, saying you can't let them run the Republican Party. The Republican Party is completely, it's a shell of its former self. It's as broken as the Democrat Party. Nobody's happy, right?
Yeah.
So they wrote this article about me, and go ahead and put it up if you would, guys. They put this article about me. It says, judge saves the Colorado GOP from itself for now. And then they have this picture of me. And you got to hear this before. Look, I'm probably, look, I think highly of myself because I've been able to accomplish a lot, but I'm probably one of the best system architects out there.
Right.
From a standpoint.
Yeah, bottom line, you've proven it.
Yeah. And so, but they call me a podcaster, and at the end of this, after they just got done eviscerating everyone thing about the Republican Party, they're like, well, there's this guy. You might have heard Oltmann as the originator of the national big lie narratives or the 2020 election, or periodic calls for political executions or for unalloyed anti-Semitism or for any number of extreme actions that would have been thought disqualifying for a decade ago. And I'm thinking, well, what have my actions have been in this deal? And then they said, but in the Trump era, it has made the Oltmann chairmanship plausible for the Colorado Republican Party, perhaps even likely is certain to ensure the even deeper isolation of the party from the rest of Colorado. They are so afraid of me.
Yes.
That I can fix it and that people will have something they can actually latch onto. That
That's
they
right.
are in full attack mode.
Yeah.
On our side too.
They're going to stay that way. They're going to stay that way. And the reason they're going to stay that way is the Republican Party is not only a soft liberal Democrat Party support system that is riddled with Democrats who have infiltrated and just call themselves Republicans in name. But we see this across the nation. We see it in my state. And here's what they don't like, Joe. They don't like free-thinking, disruptor entrepreneurs, because entrepreneurs look at things like, well, I want to do it in the most efficient way. I want to do things in a way that benefits our goals, which is supposed to be the constituency. I can tell you in the Idaho state legislature, the so-called Republicans fought to the death to preserve the capability for illegals to work any damn place they want in the state. And they were very open about it. The Republicans are very open about it because, by God, the farms need labor. And it's like, yeah, that's also called slavery. I hope you understand that. They don't care. And so, but the biggest sin is the disruption sin. This is what Republicans like. Republicans like it when it's almost like they want you to be a Cub Scout and then you get to be a Weeblo and then you get to be a Boy Scout. So come to a couple of rallies and maybe pass around some cards for us, and then come to some meetings and we'll see if we like you. Start to donate a little bit here and there, and then maybe we'll eyeball you for a future precinct committeeman role if we like you, because we pass out postcards to every one of our constituents to tell them who to vote for. So if you want to get on the card, we could do it that way. And that's being a Boy Scout. And then if you want to be a Weeblo, maybe you could be a state rep. But you'd really have to play ball and sign on for what the platform is. And as long as you're willing to do that and spend a lot more money, and you work your way up and up and up and up, and by the time you get to the place where you're actually ready for some bigger office, then they're going to hammer on you if you don't follow through with who all of the people are that you owe now. And what that creates is people who can't be their own men, people who will not serve the constituency. They're feckless as hell. They're much more responsive to lobbyists. And they're very, very good at coming in back to their constituencies and saying, well, we just did the best we could. And I think this is the wall, and this is why we're getting to a wall in the country. If even the folks who traditional Americans are seeing as the air quotes good guy party are a hot mess, there's just nowhere to go. And it gets back to the start of the show where we talked about that awful, awful recipe, that cocktail. If there's nowhere to go, and we know they're hammering and they're destroying at the local level and, the state level. And by the way, it's not just a domestic thing. There are foreign interests that are ripping apart our local politics and our state politics. They see it. They know how to do it. And so when an American, I'll tell you about one of my favorite Americans, when an American gets to the place where there's nothing left to lose and there's nothing left that they can do, then what they do is they wheel into a tavern, they put on their tri-corner hat, buy an ale, and they start bitching to the rest of the Americans in the tavern. And that's exactly what Sam Adams did when he started the Sons of Liberty. And it would not be any different here if all they're going to do is block us from access to becoming a self-governed people, which is what we should be.
Yeah, absolutely. Amen. 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 Now, if you could just say just a little louder for the people in the back of the room.
The people in the back of the room are the ones watching me with binoculars. We see you all. Yeah.
I don't know if that's binoculars. That might be a scope.
Yeah, I know. That's exactly right.
Well, I believe that I can fix the Republican Party in Colorado and make it a blueprint for how we can take it across, a red print for how we can take it across the country. But what you're saying actually bodes even more true for young people. They call them the young Republicans. And I think we need to get rid of that moniker. And this is you actually wrote something up. I don't remember what it was. It was a couple months ago, and all I could think about is the kids in the New York young Republicans that were eviscerated by the New York Times, and then people on our side, because they made some either racist comments or they made some homophobic comments inside of a signal chat that they felt safe with.
Sure.
Right? Somebody decided to take it over to the New York Times, and not only did they eviscerate trust in that group, but I think it was like 35 of them left the party. But they left the party because Ted Cruz and other people on our party just eviscerated them publicly as well.
Yeah,
right.
That's right.
So then you had the admonishment of radical leftists that like to piddle children, frankly, that have no sort of moral authority at all. And then you have people that say they're morally have moral authority and use God as kind of a backstop that are attacking these kids too. And I think I was the only one, other than some comments that you made, that said, leave these kids alone.
Absolutely.
Like you have an opportunity to have them rub some dirt in it, say, hey, that was inappropriate, apologize for it, and move on. Instead, you kicked their teeth into the dirt. You betrayed them because they have no team now that would stand up for them. And now you threw them away as if they were disposable garbage. And that's the biggest problem I have with the Republican Party, is that it has no loyalty to each other. It doesn't even know what being your brother's keeper even means. Right. And here's what we did to these young people. So we have to break down these walls, I think, and get young people involved.
In our discussion today, this is the most important point of all. It really is. And from being an entrepreneur and building things and building companies, job one for the old man is you always have to have an eye out to be looking for and training your successor.
Yes.
And who's going to come after you. That is absolutely essential. Otherwise, all you're building is a sandcastle, and the sandcastle is going to wash away. And so it's the same thing with this. I don't even think there should be a prefix called young. There shouldn't be young Republic, because it's admonishing. It's marginalizing and it's admonishing. And because it's saying, hey, and it's like this Cub Scout game I'm talking about. And if you play your cards right, maybe you'll get a Bobcat badge, and then we'll let you go to a bigger party. That's horseshit. And quite frankly, here's the other thing. The Gen Zs and the millennials, they get a bad rap a lot of times, because I've come across a lot of these young people and oh my God, they're so turned on. They are so head screwed on. We see you, we know what's happening. And they're if we want to talk about generational warfare, if you're a boomer, be careful around the Gen Zs and the Gen Alphas, because man, they're blaming you. Whether it's fair or not, they're hanging this one on you. And what they're hanging on you is all the bullshit debt for worthless degrees, not being shown what the hell a trade school was, having their education co-opted from them, not being able to afford a house, can't afford medical care, damn sure can't have a family and raise kids. And guess what? They're blaming you, boomers, with good reason, quite actually, if you want to cut it on demographic lines. But what I find is, when we talk about training our successors, this should be the seed corn. These kids and young men and women ought to be the gold, the grist that we use. If 250 years is a reset of the clock, then go find today's Sam Adams. And I'm about to be 60. Don't go find the 60-year-old. Go find the 18 to 25-year-old, and go find
who's going to be the Caesar.
Yeah, and go help them, and instead of throwing rocks at them and throwing them overboard after the intel community-driven New York Times has a swat at them, don't bolster them up, strengthen them. Say, not this bridge. We're going to put our protective wings around these, and this is the future. Because, like it or not, when we're in nursing homes, they've got the keys to the sports car. No matter what happens. And so
they got the keys to a lot of things, including the bathroom door, right?
That's right.
If you're in the home, they might lock that door and you might poop yourself.
If the biggest issue in my world is when do I poop and am I peeing straight today, then I'm going to hope there's a young one out there that's got a good handle on things, so I can at least step off the planet with grace and aplomb.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, no, you're absolutely spot on. And this is my this is my biggest plan for the party, and I think that every one of the states should adopt it. But when you have Mitch McConnell's that can barely stand up and are fog a mirror, and they're the epitome of people that we're pushing towards, they haven't learned to hand back the baton, and they haven't learned to have grace in the handoff. And this, look, the boomers deserve every bit of the scrutiny that they have.
They do. They stole all the Social Security money. They bankrupted the country. They drove us into $37 trillion worth of debt. They've put us in hopeless wars that never went to anywhere. And it's all about, no, we're the bubble, so we've got to pay this. And it's totally right and fair. So what are we left with? We're left with 401ks that are now getting emaciated, no pension programs. We destroyed manufacturing. We changed over from a products and services economy to a financially engineered economy.
Yes.
And again, let's go back to the positivity. What's President Trump doing? He is onboarding manufacturing again. We are going to do that. And it doesn't happen quickly, but it is, you can see it. It's happening.
Yes.
And now some of our smartest are going to have to figure out data centers without all the damn water and the power. I'm working on that problem right now myself.
Well, we should talk.
Absolutely, let's talk. I've got a lot of solutions.
Yeah, and I'm deep in that space, especially on the cyber side.
Yeah. So anyway, I am super optimistic about our future, but I do think we are the generation that is of Americans that are going to have to prove yet again that we're worthy of the promise of America, which is not a country, it's an idea.
I agree.
And if we don't succeed, we're taking everybody down with us. And so the world needs us to succeed. And honestly, if the truth be known, if you're in one of these capitals around the world, Egypt, Brussels, Belgium, China, you're pulling for America first too, because you understand that if we go down, everybody's going down.
Yeah, no questions. No question. Well, brother, thank you for coming on. And
my pleasure.
I know we took a little bit of a left turn there talking about the GOP, but it does ring true with all the things that you've been saying and talking about, reiterating over the last couple of months specifically. So we need an enema for the Republican Party.
Oh yeah, they do. And some people need to be disenrolled. Like, hey, the tribe voted, and you can't be here anymore. Sorry.
Off the island. You're off
you gotta go. Island. Yeah. Hey, Lindsay, go back to Disneyland.
Yes. And it shouldn't be an unpopular opinion, right?
No.
Hey, you know what? Go play golf. Go do whatever you want to do. If you didn't play golf, just go hang out, play with toys.
Go fishing. Go buy a boat. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, brother, how do people follow you? I know how to follow you, but how do people follow you so they can follow you? And it's great to have you on. Of course, we'll have you on again.
Come visit me at dangerousintellectuals.com. This week's episode, you're going to hear from our mutual friend, Professor David Clement. And I just wrote a piece on newsmax.com at the Insiders page on fifth generation warfare stuff. And then my Substack at Danger Thinking is always hopping with new stuff. And I'm excited about how it's growing. And so I appreciate you.
Awesome. Appreciate you as well. Thank you again. We'll pray for you. And are you going to be at that thing on, is it May 17th in DC?
I don't know yet because it's going to depend on my capital raising efforts for my own company.
Okay.
So we're going to find out.
Well, we should talk about that.
Okay.
All right.
I'm looking forward to that.
All right. Sounds good.
All right, brother.
Thanks, brother.
You take care.
All right. Just so you guys know, General Holt is probably one of the smartest guys you're ever going to meet. He's super smart, but more importantly, he's as humble as they come. I didn't know he was doing a fundraise for himself, but I certainly want to talk to him about that. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick commercial break. And after this break, I'm going to walk through a couple of things, frankly, things that we should have been talking about before and haven't talked about it yet. And that is, how do we live in such different realities as people? And we look at the fact that the elections are stolen largely across the entire country. And they're always coming up with new ways. It's always the super wealthy coming up with ways to basically the peasants to have to figure out whether or not they can survive. And it's gotten so close to the place where people are like, no, we want none of this. that now they're trying to do even more things. Like, how do they get us to fight? How do they shake the jar? So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And we're going to talk about the fact that our Christian country is being taken over by Islamists, not by Muslims, but by Islamists, people that are frankly completely diabolical to just the ethos of how we operate as a country. There is a difference, and learn it. But we'll be right back.
Oh, hi. I almost didn't see you there. Welcome to DCF Buns, where you can find the freshest buns in town, if I do say so myself. Oh, our master bakers teach class every week. So whether you're new to baking or trying to improve your culinary skills, we got you covered. And we can help you bake the cake of your dreams. We'll even clean your cake if you want. And if you don't want to bake anything yourself, we have loads of fresh buns available in a variety of shapes and sizes. Check us out at dcfbuns.com to learn more. DCF Buns. We keep the buns hot and the deals hotter. Buns.
In every thread, in every stitch, Honor-Bound USA weaves the fabric of the American spirit. It's not just apparel, it's a testament to God, family, and country. At Honor-Bound USA, we're a family of patriots who put our faith, family, and America first. When you visit our website, you'll find a line of products that embody our commitment to pray, stand, speak, and act. As the official site for the Untamed podcast, all of our products proclaim speaking the truth with courage. We also have the powerful documentary from Professor David Clements, Let My People Go. Identify yourself as one of the few who are willing to stand for what they believe in. Join the Honor-Bound USA family today. Wear it as a badge of honor, commitment to the values that shape us, and a pledge to the bright future we will build together. Because when you're honor-bound, you're not just wearing a brand, you're embodying a lifestyle.
Looking at this, how many people is that stat based on? Like, how many transgender shooters is that stat based on? Because you cited it, I mean, you didn't cite your source, so I had to go digging for it, so I was curious if you knew.
This is a graph from when?
About 7 months ago. Came up, it was going around on Twitter.
Do I have all the details of a graph that I posted 7 months ago in my head
No,
right
no,
now?
ballpark, just approximate.
I guess you have the answer, so go ahead and tell us.
I do. It's one person. So you cited a per million statistic based on one person as evidence that there's some sort of epidemic of transgender violence going around this country.
But there have obviously been multiple transgender shooters just in the last couple of years.
I'm not denying any sort of specific individual instance. I'm talking about this is a statistic in which you compared these numbers for all of these other populations are significantly lower than they would be with actual statistics. I was just curious, like, I want to understand, like, your process here. Why you wouldn't cite that source? Like, is it just because you know it's embarrassing that you only cited it off of, or based it off of one person? Or, like, more to the point, like, why do you have to lie to make your point? You know, why do you have to, if there's this epidemic going around, why do you have to make shit up in order to make the argument?
Well, first of all, I think as someone who believes that women have penises, you're not one to lecture people for lying.
So again, that's your definitions.
That's okay. It's okay.
Again.
So that's the problem that we have is you have liars that have lied to themselves and want to lie to other people and want you to adopt that lie. Because once you've adopted one lie, let's talk about psychology of things. Once you've adopted one lie of reality, everything else becomes dull. Everything around that becomes dull. So they can actually convince you of anything. If they can tell you that a woman could be a man could be a woman, what else could be true? You know, then you have the flat earthers that come out here and say that, oh yeah, the earth is flat and everything's a conspiracy. And look, it could be very well true that they have lied to us about many things, like going to the moon. I believe they lied to us about going to the moon. Why? Because we don't have the technology. So then we say, okay, we're going to go to the moon, but we're going to go around the moon. And I think to myself, okay, why didn't you land? You were there. Just land. Just put that little baby back on the earth or back on the planet on the moon, and away we go, right? So do I believe they lie to us? Yeah, they lie to us about everything. But here's what they didn't lie to us about. Male, female. And do you have intersex? Yes, you do. Eunuchs, you have those too. You have people that are born in a malformity that frankly is unfortunate, and they have to live a different life as a result. I don't know, the one that gets born with both, you could argue that they're the lucky ones. Just kidding. But have a little bit of sense of humor about these things. But you'd be hard pressed if you were looking at this from the lens of reality, that anyone on the radical left even has a foothold to sit on or stand on, because none of it can be debated or factually represented well. It can't. You can't. You have to ignore science, and then you say, "Oh man, the sky is falling. The sky is falling." You know, the Green New Deal. We have to have it because climate change is destroying everything. You can't have that argument while you're also out there putting cement inside of the air and doing stuff to spray stuff in the air. And you can sit here and tell me that that's not happening, but you have scientists that for a long time, that's what they did. They literally, contrails are not just air. It's not. You don't just turn it on and turn it off and just, okay, I'm going over here and we're just gonna, no, we know it's not true. Okay. So you can't be up there messing with everything up there and then tell us that the climate's changing. Of course it's changing. You're changing it. Right? So two things can be true at the same time. We could have massive problems with people that don't know how to throw their trash in the trash can, and we haven't figured out, and all the technology we have, how to get rid of trash. We still bury it under the ground. I think that's stupid, right? But at the same time, you can't tell me that a man can be a woman, a woman can be a man. It's just not true. And we need to stop the lies and stop the grooming that accompanies it. And here's something else. You want to tell us that we can't actually have our Christian faith and that we should be ashamed of it. There's two things in this country that frankly are under attack. White people are under attack and Christianity is under attack. And frankly, I find both of them disgusting, right? You're cowards. Cowards do that in order to create opportunity for really stupid people and really to betray the very people they say they're there to help. So you say, oh, I'm going to help black people. Well, said no one ever that actually it pushed all this DEI stuff, because you get a couple people that get to rise through those processes, but education experience, it has people less than 20% or 25% of people graduate proficient in anything in the inner cities. And so you're literally betraying the education system and opportunities. You got rid of trade schools, did everything you could to destroy them. And now you're saying, look, the only thing that matters is social justice and police hate you, even though it's really the judges that are rotted and terrible. And now we're sitting here talking about sorry, no idea who that was. Now you're trying to tell us that somewhere along the line, people should have to embrace this culture. Play it.
What is the name of this dance? Good job.
This is nuts. You know what we want to learn about? I just want to be really clear. We want to learn about civics. I want the kids to be able to know what's in the Constitution, what's in the Bill of Rights, what rights they have as young people growing up. And instead you have Retardedville with Mamdani and the rest of the, whatever you want to call them, terrorists that are running around DC or running around New York. You say, I can't believe you called Mamdani a terrorist. He worked in Egypt in a terror network, didn't he? He was over there during the Arab Spring, or was it not Egypt? Maybe it was Syria. Yeah, and he came here, he was fast-tracked. How do you fast-track a guy, by the way, to citizenship? And you got guys that have been here for 20 years that can't get across the finish line. The whole system is actually created to put people like Mamdani in power, right? A weirdo that wants to take more off the bone of the American people and treat them like slaves. But it's working out really well, right? I mean, go to New York City right now, and it's a shell of its former self, and it's literally in a state of almost complete disrepair. So then you have to go even one step further, and we want foreigners to feel welcome. They should be able to talk about their culture. but we're not allowed to talk about ours. Doesn't matter who it is. If you're an American, you're not allowed to talk about your culture. Here's what I got to say to you. Fuck off, right? We're Americans. Whether you're black, you're brown, you're Asian, you're white, it doesn't matter to me. Americans are being sidelined by foreigners. And you could say, well, we're a country of foreigners, we're a melting pot. No, we're not. And we've never been. The idea that we can have this ethos get eroded by people outside the country and say, I want to just take over this other country, we'll make it little Somalia. No. We don't want a crap hole. And yet you bring these crap holes here and then tell us that we have to be tolerant and that we have to learn about those cultures. Some people don't want to. And frankly, we should be looking at it from an America first lens, period, end stop. But here's the Chicago Mayor Johnson that is admitting that he actually discriminates against white males. This is really happening in our country. Play it.
I've been very intentional about making sure that my administration, unlike previous administrations, have people who work for me that reflect the community. Once upon a time, just to be very blunt with you, 2 administrations ago, 70% of the mayor's administration were white men, right? And that's just not a diversified approach, I believe.
Not a diversified approach. All right. Since Johnson's been in office in Chicago, has crime gone up or down? Let me answer it for you. It's gone up dramatically. Since Johnson's been in office, what has happened to the infrastructure of Chicago? Has it gotten better or has it gotten worse? Well, let me answer it for you. It's gotten worse. It's been on a downhill trajectory over the last 6 years specifically that makes it look like it's falling off a cliff. That's Chicago, Illinois, right? So his diversity is working really well because he finds the most grift-worthy and terrible human beings he could find that will allow him to get away with stealing from the very people that live within that great city. So with all of that said, I said one cuss word. Don't get mad at me. I'm going to say one cuss word because frankly, I'm tired of it. And you should be tired of it too. And we should stop these niceties for things that we know we shouldn't have to be nice about. I don't want to be nice about it. Neither should you. But let's do this if we can. I have no tolerance for tolerance. Yeah, good for you, Jeff. That's probably who I am, right? But I want to, the amount of stupid, educated people that call themselves intelligent is nearly zero. Most of the people out there that say, and these are people with PhDs. I mean, look at Eric Coomer. He's got a PhD. And the guy literally can't get himself out of a bag. Sorry, that's just the way it is. I mean, you got a drug addicted Satanist. I don't know. That's, if that makes you smart, if that's the path that you choose because you're smart, I don't know. It just doesn't seem very smart to me. But you got really all these, what I call educated idiots, intelligent, but frankly, stupid, all at the same time. I want to educate you on the word unicorn, unicorns being in the Bible. Now, last week I had a conversation with someone that talked about unicorns, and I was like, well, they were called unicorns back then. And he's like, no, they weren't. No, they weren't. And I was like, yeah, no, this animal was called a unicorn. Matter of fact, I can prove it. And so I walked through the process and I'm showing him this stuff about this species. It's called a unicorn. And he's like, that's not true. Unicorns are horses with a horn out of its head. And I was like, no, actually it's not. And it comes from a old term, a Latin Greek term for that particular. He's like, no, it's not true. Even after I showed it to him, he still was convinced that, see, the Bible is just a bunch of fairy tales because it has the word unicorn in it. All right, so I'm going to play this video for you. I want to just remind you that Jesus and the Bible and unicorns are real, but just not the way you think it is, because they capture the vernacular in order to stop people from believing in our one Lord and Savior. Go ahead and play it.
You're telling me that unicorns are real? who like to scoff at the Bible and say things like this.
If we're going to use the Bible for science, we've got some tough things to explain. What are you going to do about unicorns? We're mentioned 8 times in the Bible. I want to tell you what, we have never found a fossil of a unicorn.
By the way, where are the unicorns that are referred to in the Bible? Where are those, either in the fossil record or today? I'd like to see one of those. Another one of those interesting tests that continues to get failed.
Well, if you get an old 1828 Noah Webster's Dictionary, which is the very first edition dictionary that Webster came out with about 200 years ago, and if you look up the word unicorn, it says that unicorn is an animal with one horn, the monoceros. This name is often applied to the rhinoceros. Notice how this definition says absolutely nothing about a horse. It says nothing about a horse-like animal or a mythical animal or a fictitious creature. It says absolutely nothing about Greek mythology whatsoever, but rather it says that this is a name that is often applied to the rhinoceros. Wait a minute, what? The rhinoceros? You mean this is a unicorn? But the rhinoceros has 2 horns. How could this be a unicorn? Well, if you look up the word rhinoceros in the same dictionary, it says that rhinoceros is a genus of quadrupeds of 2 species, one of which, the unicorn, has a single horn growing almost erect from the nose. This animal when full grown is said to be 12 feet in length. There's another species with 2 horns, the bicornis. They are natives of Asia and of Africa. According to Noah Webster, back in the early 1800s, it was understood that there were 2 species of the rhinoceros. The one-horned species was called unicorn, and then the 2-horned species was called bicornis. So basically, you get a 200-year-old Noah Webster's dictionary, look up the word unicorn, it says rhinoceros, and look up the word rhinoceros, and it says unicorn. That was just 200 years ago. The old King James was translated 400 years ago, in 1611. So if the definition of the word unicorn has changed in just the past 200 years from rhinoceros to horse, then it doesn't make much sense to take a modern definition of the word unicorn and apply it to a 400-year-old translation of the Bible. That's illogical. As a matter of fact, even today, the scientific name of the Asian one-horned rhinoceros is Rhinoceros unicornis, and Diceros bicornis is the scientific name of a 2-horned rhinoceros. Well, where do you think those scientific names came from? I wonder. Well, they came from the Latin. Unicornis and bicornis are Latin words. Well, that's interesting, because in Psalm 92, verse 10, the psalmist is praying and says, "But my horn shalt thou exalt like the horn of a unicorn." If you look up this verse in the Latin Bible, the word that's being used here is the word unicornis. Unicornis is the same Latin word that's being used in the scientific name of the Asian one-horned rhinoceros. In Job 39, verse 9, God is speaking to Job and says, "Will the unicorn be willing to serve thee or abide by thy crib?" If you look up this verse in the Latin Bible, the word that's being used here is the word rhinoceros. Rhinoceros is the Latin word that's being used in this scripture verse. Interesting. Rhinoceros unicornis. Rhinoceros unicornis. As a matter of fact, in these 9 scripture verses, there's actually 5 different Latin words that are being used. Rhinoceros, rhinocerotis, rhinocerota, unicornium, and unicornis. These 5 Latin words are what's being used when the Old King James Version of the Bible says unicorn.
They claim that the Bible is a fairy tale, but when you do a deeper dive, you discover that the Bible is valid. Like, subscribe, and become a member because...
Well, there you have it. There you have it. They want to tell you that because unicorn is in the Bible, but they don't actually apply it to what the word really means. Now, how often do we come into this perspective? Pretty much all the time. They try to rewrite history, and history is written by the victors. You can go back in time, and as you start reading more things, if you take the time to get past the TikTok videos or the people that say, "Oh, that's a good point. It says unicorn. It must be fake. It must not be real." People let ink dry on the smallest things that justify why you should throw the baby out with the bathwater. But they don't do the research. Same can be said for politics. Same can be said for how easy it is to trick you. So I'm going to do an experiment with you real quick, okay? And I want to walk me through this, because I saw this being done, and I was like, okay, well, let's try it. Okay. So ready? How do you spell silk? Now, you can't see you do this, but you see, spell silk. Okay. What do cows drink? Next question. Spell. See, I'm going to screw this up. I already screwed it up. We'll do this again tomorrow. My point is that you probably said, well, cows drink milk. Well, they don't. They drink water. So you can walk through and it's so easy to actually deceive you, right? And you can walk through all the different deceptions that we face every day. And the media is so good at it. They have spent 6 years, 7,000 articles they have written about me, 7,000. They have called me a liar. They have called me a violent extremist. They have said I'm a militiaman. They've said all these things that are fundamentally just not true. They're not only partially not true, they're not true, period. End stop. the entire time that they've done that, they put Dominion voting systems, and more specifically Eric Coomer, on a pedestal and said he's the perfect villain. They've lied about who Eric is. They've lied about what his position is. They've lied about the things that he supposedly did and did not do. And as it keeps coming out more and more, now the judge and other people in this case, which we're going to go over tomorrow, have to step in and procedurally do everything they can to protect the demon that literally is responsible for the architecture of stealing elections across the country. And we've been able to prove it. We've been able to prove it. And so as we walk through this process, and we're going to do this tomorrow, we're going to have to start looking at what our perceptions are, like what we believe. Because if they can sit there and tell you that, oh yeah, unicorns, ink dry, it's not a, there aren't unicorns, we've never found a fossil of a unicorn, and you have young people that are listening to these retards who their knowledge is literally about 200 pages deep. They don't take the time to look into what is really happening in our country. So anyway, good food for thought. All right. So let's go ahead. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and more. We are going to be going live on Substack. So keep in mind, we'll be doing that. We're probably going to be cutting off and doing some stuff for just subscribers over there on Substack. And we're going to just expand where we are. Obviously, we're on Amazon. I'm trying to get the rest of that kind of worked out to make sure that we can reach it on Amazon. But we're on all the other channels, pilled.net. Just want to shout out to them and the people that are watching there. And then Facebook. We're not on True Social yet, although I think we're going to be working on getting on there as well. And then, yeah, that's it. So we've had a great day, and I hope you guys have a great day. And I will see you tomorrow. Oh, we got to pray us out. We'll pray us out. And yes, I will take my hat off because somebody said, take your hat off when you pray. I think I should do that. Good catch. Father God, thank you for the opportunity we have to be here today. Thank you for General Holt. Thank you for his knowledge, and thank you for the time that he took to kind of explain what's really happening in this fifth generation warfare that we're dealing with right now. Father, we know that we're in a place where the devil just wants to screech and scream and wants to capture souls. And so, Father, we're just grateful for the tools that you've given us and the ability that we have to fight against this devil itself. We also recognize that we find ourselves on opposite ends of the same spectrum, going the same direction, fighting each other more than we do fighting against the evil that sits right in front of us. So, Father, help us so we may set aside petty differences, have grace and humility, and be able to forgive those in front of us as we try to figure out and forge a path that will restore you to our community and to our country. Father, please help us that we may honor you in the things that we do every day, and help those that are in need, Father, that they may see light and be able to dig themselves out of whatever situation they're in, or that the people around them can rise up and give them the assistance that's necessary. And Father, I just ask a special prayer over Dave Bear. He's fighting the good fight, and we don't know if you're calling him home, but we certainly would like to keep him. So if you could heal him, and we just ask for your help here, Father, to heal Dave Bear. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen. All right. I will see you guys tomorrow, same time, same station. And don't forget to hit the little up arrow on your way out if you're on Rumble. And if you're not on Rumble and the others, you can hit the little button. I can wait here till you guys push it out. And remember, you're the arbiters of reality. You are the arbiters of reality. You are the ones that are ambassadors of truth. Go ahead and push it out there. And you can disagree with me. Calves are cows. They drink milk. I said cows. How old are the cows? I should have read some of this stuff before. Silk. Oh, milk. See, but you got it wrong, Jeff. Milk. See, you guys did. Chocolate milk comes from brown cows. I should have read these before because they're pretty funny. All right, keep doing what you guys do. But give it a little shout on the way out. Take it all to your socials. Take the little thing, copy, paste it, send it over there and say, hey, great conversation. You guys want to listen to it. All right, we'll see you soon. God bless you.
rise up untamed. In the heart of the fire where the wild ones roam, Joe Oltmann's calling, bringing truth back home. From conservative daily to this untamed fire, we shatter the silence, lifting spirits higher. No chains can hold us, no lies can prevail. Authentic and fearless on this rugged trail. Patriots gather under stars and stripes. Untamed nation, igniting the night. Untamed nation, let the truth roll out in this land of the free. Standing proud from sea to shining sea, we won't back down. Catch the fire, wear the crown. Untamed nation, it's our battle song, motivating hearts where the brave belong. Yeah, untamed and wild, forever strong. Play it again all night long. Break the mold, chase the real. No more games, time to heal. Joe's voice leads the untamed crew. Truth matters through and through.